Hi, and welcome to these messy little film reviews. Today, I am reviewing Netflix's Girlboss. I think it's still on Netflix. I think Netflix made it. I don't know all the details. But anyway, Girlboss used to be a book. I guess still is a book. Never not on the used to be. It still exists as a book. It is Sofia Amoroso's memoir, autobiography. She basically invented Nasty Gal. I will say I have ordered from Nasty Gal, but she'd already sold the company many years, and when I ordered from Nasty Gal, I did not realize that the sizes were in UK, and while I'm a US size 8, I am not and never will be a UK size 8. So that sucked, and most of my Nasty Gal stuff my bestie has, or it got ripped or survived once because I squeezed my little big old hiney into it. Kate Cannon took this book and wrote it into a screenplay. Kate Cannon has done New Girl, Pitch Perfect. Very much is the vibe of this. It is real loose telling of the events that inspire, but I remember kind of liking Girlboss. I'm always, I'm a Capricorn, as you know, I've done so many videos on it. But anyway, yeah, I always feel inspired by, women in a career because it's not often something we see on film, particularly. Trying to, take a career and the challenges and lulls that come into the career, that can be very inspiring and exciting. So I am excited to give this review to y'all, and yeah, let's see how it goes. Let's get into Girlboss. So we meet our heroine, Sophia. Her car has died on a hill in San Francisco. Ugh, nightmare fuel, She was in a quarter tank, but it did not last. And the car behind her beeps, and so she has to push her car in front of the trolley. The audacity. I'm kind of for it, though, because I think I would maybe just melt into my car and cry until somebody helped me, because I am the Susan Meyer of it all. Desperate Housewives review coming soon, y'all. Oof. And you know what? Not even on top of the car, going back to present day life, I had thought that Miss Sophia, she had done it all. She had knocked out the park. She made a success, but it looks like actually Nasty Gal went bankrupt in 2006, and so she filed for bankruptcy, and it has been acquired by Boohoo. So if her succeeding, let it inspire you and let it know that business is a trip and a whole thing, a whole up and down sort of journey, Anyway, back to having her car stuck on a hill. Anyway, she ends up getting slapped by an older woman for whining about society. See, because Sophia doesn't want to grow up. She thinks it sucks. She doesn't want to be boring. I have never had this level of immaturity, I guess, in some ways. Being a grown-up always sounded exciting to me to learn how to do stuff. I just didn't know the formula that necessarily made you a, functioning adult, because the blueprints that my family gave me were a bit disorganized, to put it nicely. She opens champagne with a sword. She's pretty badass. She's 23 at the time of this. At 23, I too was something. She has a lot of fun shouting slut. I'm assuming that is kind of, I don't know. I have a weird relationship with the word slut. I don't know about you guys, but I do. So it's all fun and games until she gets hit with an eviction notice. She didn't pay rent, and she needed the plumbing fixed. So then she is friends with Annie, who has had sex on a bar. Sounds really fun, honestly. Her dad is a drummer who owned a water park, and she talked about making, water park pants. I don't really understand what that means. Is it pants that, you can swim in? Because that may be onto something. Like a wetsuit, but maybe, cool looking, I don't know. Free ideas. Here you go. So she sleeps with this one guy. She usually doesn't really do one night stands, but this person lets her crash because she is a little homeless at the point. She has to make ocean sounds because that's how she goes to sleep. I cannot sleep with those sounds. They weirdly wake me up, maybe because I get really excited about the ocean. She does not eat breakfast, not a merit of success, as you know, as we've been told. So she has to wear high heel shoes or she's got to get leg surgery. And she ends up liking her one night stand guy. So she says I love you to her friends in case they die. I honestly kind of love that. So she arrives to work 3 minutes late and she eats her boss's sandwiches and surfs the web and takes personal calls when she's working. Is just not obviously passionate about that job and doing a good job. I think a lot of people work like this, but also having some integrity is good. So she tells everyone she quit even though she was fired, and her boss says that her work ethic made her start her period, which really weird. Don't really know how that all works. Just because of stress. I am confused. But anyway, so she scores this cool vintage jacket for $9 because it had mouse turds on it or whatever is what she said. A very charming gal. And so she gets it for $9. And she kind of laughs at that because it's the guy didn't know what his stuff was worth and that he got played. Meanwhile, too, she's dumpster diving for food. She steals this huge rug and no one stops her. And then she falls asleep outside because she is evicted. And she is pissed off and trying to figure it all out. RuPaul is on here, of course. I love RuPaul. He's an amazing dude. Her place is super messy. There's mold on walls. So she goes to sell her $9 jacket on eBay, and she makes $180 for a jacket that she bought for $9, which is wild. Feels like ripped off, but I guess that's the beauty of eBay. And then she finds her driver's license, which was missing as well. So her dad is a little worried about her overzealousness to figure out life and do this clothing store thing where she's repurposing her dad doesn't get it. He's like, what are you doing with vintage clothes? This doesn't seem right. Let me help you. But she wants to do it herself. And she wants to do it of her own, unconventional rules. So she needs money, but she's not relying on daddy. So that's, girl boss move, honestly. Girl boss move. She's worried that she has spider vag, which, what a concept, never heard of before, because she has this little bump in her, razor burn area. And she calls something a shit soda, which I just like the alliteration of that, to be honest. So her friend Annie is kind of being weird about men in her knees, and Sophie's kind of ideal thing is to just spend her day in bed and eat and pay rent, and she feels like people are underestimating her because she's smart, she's got good instincts and common sense, so she steals a Business for Dummies book by buying the bookmark because she doesn't have a lot of money. And she doesn't really super get away with it, so she gets chased, and she feels like she's getting public shamed, and kind of almost like a prostitute, but she is ready to read more and learn. And so she shows RuPaul that her little growth that she's having. RuPaul is smoking in her place. He did airport security, and he's seen people just chug stuff before they go on a flight because you can't have water at a flight. I literally hate airport security so much. So he also gives her the idea of estate sales, which she is running towards. She finds this Chanel that she fights over, even though it doesn't really fit. And then she passes out when she's pulling out her trunk because she has a hernia, but she can't treat it at the free clinic until she gets a job. So it's just a little bit of a mess there. I hate our system. It's so weirdly wired. So she just goes to estate sale after estate sale where this one guy is yeah, one time he opened up a trunk and pulled out teeth, which that's scary. And then, another estate where it's somebody shot himself and here's all of this stuff. And I guess that person who shot himself ended up surviving just with an ear bleed, but it was the result of an adulterous affair, which is yeah, honesty is really important and shouldn't cheat on people. I know it's easier said than done, but something important to remember, even if it's not always acted on. I hate myself. It's fine. More on that later. So her boyfriend Shane knows that she's in clinic and gets a hernia. She ends up getting a job as a front desk attendant at an art school center, which she has full access to the computer, so she can go on eBay and everything. and she also gets health insurance, and she can take care of her hernia. So she's struggling for a store name. She wants to go out into the city with Shane because San Francisco is magic. 100% believe also that San Francisco is magic. I love that place. It is amazing. So she shoves a burrito into a woman who was like flipping out on the street's mouth. They buy a ticket, but they don't watch the movie, and they have like stolen wine in Coke cups. Honestly, kind of a vibe. They go to this male psychic, and Shane kind of points out that, like, Sophia is such a narcissist, hasn't really asked him about himself, and, like, what he does, he manages, like, bands, and he tells us, like, one story about how they had to, like, stole a CD, and it, like, cut a scrotum, and honestly, their paths, I think, like, they are pretty, like, compatible people. This might have been the person she got a divorce from. I could also kind of see that. When they're in the psychic, the police come in and they like run out, and I guess because there was like another thing going on top of the psychic thing, like another illegal activity, whether they were like hiding somebody. But yeah, that would be crazy to like, you're getting your fortune read and then all of a sudden the police are there, and technically, I think they should have stayed for questioning. I don't know how that whole situation works, but if you do, let me know in the comments. It turns out that Sophia is also afraid of bridges. Unclear why. Maybe because they're helpful and she's kind of in a self-destructive mode. She wants to live like 400 years and doesn't even care she did Frozen. And they talk about how like one of their uncles, Frank, died by being unplugged, and it's kind of funny and awkward. So she comes onto a name. She thinks that it is Rubik's Vintage, which is like fine. It's an alright name. I think she was right to go to Nasty Gal. I don't really like the way they did that transition. It feels very clunky, but that might have been how it is in real life. And Shane, meanwhile, is kind of being mad that this is like not a date, and that she's just kind of like dancing wild, singing at this drag queen who did like the Betty Davis song, which is why she ends up going with Nasty Girl because of that song. And the song didn't speak to me, but glad it spoke to her, and it does like, it's got a great ring to it, and honestly I think fits her persona very well. With a name, when you know, you know. Like that was how it was with my business name, Swinito Media. It was like, I heard it on In the Heights. I just like saw him say it, and I saw it. I saw everything we were going to do ever with that business, like a flash of my eye. Like I saw every dream we were going to achieve very, very fast. And then I texted my business partner and I was like, what do you think about Tomato? And he was instantly like, yes. And that was it. And it's always been that way. So she ends up ditching Shane for a mosh pit, and Shane still somehow finds this endearing. I mean, Sophia's like super like manic pixie dream girl hot, so I get it, you're irresistible sometimes. And so then we go to Sophia's first nasty customer. It happens with everybody. It is a rite of passage in business, I would say. So basically, Lady Shopper 99 is a bridezilla, and she claims that her dress has discoloration, a stain that she ordered, and she ordered it pristine. Sophia says that the dress was 100% like stain free and is like sewing beads on the dress to kind of fix it. I gotta say, Sophia's a bit of an unreliable narrator. I know the vintage clothing scene a little. I have a feeling that Sophia probably sent this woman a stained dress, and I understand that person being mean about it, especially like this early in your career, being a young girl, probably like being really like having a relationship with alcohol and things. But yeah, I think she sent the dress in stain, but either way, she promises her that she will fix it because she can't get her bad review this early. It will tank your business. Bad reviews suck. And, you know, when you can fix something, why not? So she's going to try to fix this dress. So she needs a break from all of this stress of work because, you know, it's Sophie and she doesn't want to deal with responsibility. So she goes and she meets her friend Nathan, and she bonds with him and his mom, and they are drinking red wine, eating ice cream, listening to Josh Groban, you know, having a great time, forgetting the angst of capitalism, you know, like you gotta do that, and Josh Groban is the way. And then that makes Sophia late to dropping off the wedding dress, and she, in order to make it on time, she also has to cross a bridge, which she doesn't like. I still don't really understand her fear, but she really, really fears it. Not all fears are rational, you know. But because she was drunk, yeah, she missed the delivery driver, so she is walking on a bridge. And she feels envious on that walk, too, because her friend Nathan and his mom are so close, and she wishes that she was, like, that close with her dad. And she just kind of is feeling, like, FOMO with that. Her car also ended up being out of gas. And so that was also why she had to cross her bridge for her fear, but she just really didn't want a bad review. She, like, ends up even, like, climbing over a wall to get to the dress, and she delivers the dress, and it still interrupts into a fight, but being inspired by Nathan and his mom's relationship, she wants to reconnect with her dad, but she doesn't want to give him too much details about her life, because I think she doesn't want him to, like, talk her out of it, you know? Also, I don't know if I mentioned it, but this show all takes place in 2006, which I really like. There aren't a lot of 2000 shows that we explore, and I honestly think it's a pretty interesting decade to go into. So Annie is mad because she is not in Sophia's top 8. I don't know if it's top 8 people. I didn't write enough notes, and the review sites don't want to help me either, but or top 8. So I'm just thinking generally, like, favorite things. That would be a little bit weird. I think my best friends are definitely in my top 8. Yeah, probably relatively very quickly. But again, you know, Sophia's a narcissist, so why would it be a person? Sophia also bought a bot to help her store out. See, everybody does it. So if you ever feel guilty about beating bots, every business in the world uses a robot. Robots are the foundation of everything. We could all use more robots, and that sometimes is scary. So this is a flashback episode. We just see how she became friends with Annie. They met at a Dodgers game because they are in tension for stealing a baseball from a kid and flashing the Jumbotron. Sophia stole the baseball. Annie flashed the Jumbotron. She thinks that Annie is a prostitute due to that. Maybe. Annie does kind of weirdly have prostitute vibes, but in, like, a good way, you know? Or sex worker, I guess. I don't know if both the words mean the same thing, but just in case you're offended, both. Anyway, literally, Sophia stole a baseball from a kid and didn't even care that it made a kid cry. She ends up getting rescued because she has to pee, and at that point, she's, like, crashing with her dad. She feels like she has to do the Britney thing that everyone else is, but her hair is terrible and doesn't really frame her face. But I honestly loved both the hair on her and her friend, and I think they looked better. So they cut her hair. They don't want to go to Oldies night. I think I honestly would want to go to Oldies night, but there's this girl Veronica there that they don't like, but they don't want to, like, sit in an empty VIP thing. It's also weird that there's this person that has a coach that, like, tells her everything to do, but, like, people live like that, and sometimes I think it's easier, but it's also a little dangerous for the coach. So she gets called a piece of crap friend, and she, like, she throws all the drink tickets, even though the drink tickets are for her to bring other people and they're not just for her, but you know Sophie at this point. So then she decides that they're going to hitchhike to Coachella. I do not like that there's this person who was like, I'm gonna pick you up, you defenseless little girls, is, like, super yuck, you know, and that the truck is, like, too high to get into. I've struggled with that, you know. It's a tough one. And Sophie has this backpack, which is full of food, money, and everything they need for their Coachella weekend. Annie is a really good friend. We often look at Sophia and she just sees that she's just super unrestful. I honestly saw a bit of myself in this context of Sophia. Like, I will admit, I'm flawed, but this just unrestfulness that she has in everything, that she's never really content or willing to take responsibility. She is rocking some Supernova, hot, good vibes, feeling hot. She's ready to riot in this desert, but her backpack ends up being driven off with the supplies guy. So the motel doesn't help them because they lost the backpack. She ends up, like, jamming her foot, and she is deciding, you know, that there are boys there and she's not making anybody's problems her own. She, like, throws her stuff everywhere. Her business needs money. She's like, I'd help them. And so she wants to go join in into this poly group, but she doesn't want to go back. It was supposed to be 2 weeks, but it ends up being 2 years. And she goes, and that's where the, like, I love you in case you die is born. So they're, like, sleeping on a motel lawn chair. Honestly, I end up liking their friendship. I'm really glad that she has somebody like Annie there for her, and in my notes I was like, I want a friendship like this, but I'm proud to say later that I have one, so hey, you know, write your own future. believe in your dreams, you know? Manifest it. So then, now because she's a boss babe, a girl boss babe, she makes Shane have sex on money. The idea of that sounds very, very fun to me, but the practicality does wear on my soul a little bit. So Shane pictures Abe Lincoln. The picture of Abe Lincoln on the money makes him last longer. The mood gets ruined by her songs on iTunes. You know, sometimes that happens in sex. Just like that one song comes on and you're like, I am not feeling it anymore. I cannot have my pussy be wet to Tim McGraw. Sorry for that. Anyway, so Shane is going on tour. He's going to fly out, and that's the least of this man's problems because he thinks doggy style is sexist, and he calls her his girlfriend because he doesn't want to cheat on her on tour, but, you know, Sophia's allergic to commitment. She wants to keep it casual. She talks through her kiss. She's insured, and he suggests that she gets her teeth fixed. But really, because now that she's got her insurance, she's going to dip out of her job at the art school. Her prairie dress items aren't selling, even though they are pretty cute. She meets this one friend, Dax, who is Annie's boyfriend and Shane's roommate. He's in business school, and he talks to Sophia about how 95% of new businesses fail, and Sophia gets into her head that she is gonna be the 5%, and, you know, she doesn't have time to let her soul die working for other people. She is making her dream come true, and Nathan also just kind of realizes that he's got to get out of community college, and Dax explains to Sophia that, you know, like, the market tells you, you don't tell the market, which is just, that really is the kicker, you know? It really, really is. But with that information, she does end up wanting to stick around with her art school gig because she realizes that, you know, it's going to be a while before she enters that 5%. I'm still not over that her friend Annie likes a salt and pepper ball sack. Ugh. So then poor Sophie is at her limit, and she just starts yelling at herself in the mirror, and then self-harms and picks at her hernia, and she ends up throwing up blood because her hernia, oh my god, awkward. But anyway, her hernia exploded, and then she, like, all tries to impress her doctor because he is a hot doc. And her dad picks her up and takes her into her apartment, which is super messy from her meltdown. There are, like, baby carrots everywhere. Save the carrot industry. I don't really know what's going on with it, but yeah, save it because I like a good carrot. And her dad opens up to her and says that he knew that she was always capable of everything because of her creativity and wit. And he, like, tells the story where she would, like, not let people play tag, and she would not be in tears when people did that, and that she is a brave self and so cool that kids, like, beg to play with her, that she is relentless and fearless, and she doesn't want to give up on herself, which I think is really inspiring. I wish I had a dad that would pep talk me like that, but no, my dad only wanted to tear me and my sister down. But my dad's dead now, so it's fine. So wild to say. But anyway, Annie thinks her dad is super hot because Annie is just a character. But with her brush with death, she realizes that she cannot, like, waste any moment of her life. She quits the art school job for good and has to go all in on the Nasty Gal adventure. I get it. I did the same. It's hard. It's worth it though, and I think it pays off. Maybe more on that soon, more on me being a boss babe. So she is been too busy to get busy. She's printed out all her internet comments from haters. Her friend is trying to tell her, you know, like, let the hate comments motivate, but it's very hard. She finds this person who's, like, a vintage Hitler is what she says, which is just rough, and she has made somebody mad because of the way that she flipped pants, and a lot of people are mad that she will, like, cut vintage clothing, and she comes face to face to one of them because she feels that on the like vintage fashion forum that she is violating a code of ethics and that she's not like saving the clothes for future generations to enjoy. So she tries to stiff some of her eBay competition, which is called Remembrances, run by Gail, who's a little timid, and she still goes against the strict code that a lot of vintage resellers stand by because they want to protect the integrity of old clothing. And Sophia doesn't do that because she makes like kind of modern day alterations. And Gail wants her to stop. She drove like all the way up from Reno to basically ask her to do better because she feels that passionately about it. And I kind of understand Gail's point of view. Like, a vintage piece exists as a vintage piece until somebody alterates it. I mean, part of me says it's like a really gray area because you can't put a price on creativity and trying to like stop all of that from happening. But, you know, once you do a vintage piece, it's gone forever. Like that, it will not exist. I mean, I don't know how when people were building vintage pieces, if they were making timely clothing, or even now, like one day, you know, 2020 pieces will be vintage technically. I don't know if every clothing store is making clothing to last, especially in an age of fast fashion. But Gail is really offended by Sophia's actions. It's offensive to her and her community. It is wild to think that vintage clothes have a community, but it's true, they do. I don't really, why am I not in it? I guess I'm not like a true like fashion person, you know, to do that. But I like her like phrase that she says though, where she's like, you know, Gail, you're trying to preserve old memories, but I'm trying to create new ones. But Gail's still a little mad that she sold the shorts and that she's erasing the history in the clothes. But Sophia's like, what? They're going to end up in the trash anyway. And then Sophia finds that Gail is kind of in love with the thrift store owner that she bought her like first jacket onto the sale. And she was going to buy this dress and pay $300, but she gets it for $200 and helps her score this 1940s debutante dress. And they start bonding. They do tequila shots. They dance. And they share in the reasons that they love clothes so much. Sophia is more interested in stories that have yet to be told, and Gail has like the daydreams of the previous owners. And Sophia reveals that her mom left when she was 12 and took all the clothes with her, where Gail's mom died and she got to know her mom through her closet, which is just like a really beautiful way to think about things. I don't think I currently have any of the pieces, but I had like inherited clothing that I remembered from my childhood, and that was very significant. And now I would say probably all the pieces that I own are all of mine, and I give clothing to my friends and stuff that most of my clothing usually just gets worn down, like hooks break, buttons break. It's pretty much like unmendable or like mends that I'm not going to make, so I just throw them away. Most of my clothing gets holes in it, particularly my pants always get a hole in the vagina. I have no idea why that happens, but that's my curse upon the world, I guess. Is what it is, you know? And Gail says that she's done butt stuff weirdly, but she gave her a present and it's the dress. Sophie decides that she's going to try to like animals and say good mornings to gowns and be a Disney princess, but then she just ends up tearing the debutante gown up. Honestly, worse than it was in my opinion. She should not have messed with it, but I am like a sucker for that kind of vintage piece. And Gail is then mad when she sees that she's altered the dress. Yeah, that's a hard one. That is a hard one. She should have left it. Should have left it as it was. It was not that bad. But, you know, Sophie. So, Sophie and Shane are reunited. She is ready to fuck his dick off. Shane is dealing with an asshole musician who wants his Claritin D. Man, remember, Claritin used to be such a big thing in my life, and now it's, like, not at all. They get to double date with Dax and Annie, but they're, like, fighting the whole time, so, because I think Dax doesn't want her to do drugs and, like, wants her to go on a boring tour. Shane plays this song that's dedicated to Sophia, which is very sweet. He, like, got the band to do it and everything. Super, super cute. And then they end up settling the fight, and both Dax and Annie do drugs. A whole tab of acid. They got it off of a stranger in the bathroom, which is a little scary, but one is scared because they've had a bad acid trip before, which is very, very rough. And meanwhile, they're having this, like, universal exploration trip together. And Shane and Sophia are awkwardly getting cold in the shower because it's very hard for couples to shower together. But you know what? There's more to life than being wet. Anyway, then they go to a pool, and Shane just snaps again that Sophia is narcissistic and self-centered and always puts herself first and won't fix herself. And she is getting mad that he, like, just isn't treating her like grown up. He, like, thinks that she's throwing away money, but it's also, like, her money, and they haven't been dating enough for him to be, like, obsessed about it. Like, until your finances really affect each other, stay out of it, you know? There's this cool, like, space to something that was very, very interesting on the acid trip. She ends up being super rude to the musician when she's asking for a cab, and she gives him, like, an awkward goodbye wet hug, and he's all mad that she was eating fries, and she just attacks about him, like, doing the job. And I think it really is a thing where, like, men sometimes, like, I've definitely seen it, and I'm not necessarily somebody who identifies with a woman anymore, so I've had, I think, people make a little bit more peace with that than if I solely identify with women. But when I was a woman, it was like, men do get really mad when you're working, and I guess because it's like, because then you're unavailable to them. It's like a really weird thing, or maybe we still run on this like 1950s thing of like men feeling inferior that a woman doesn't work. And Sophia just kind of hurls things at him and is like, oh, I run a business, what do you do? And it's like he's literally an adult man that manages people professionally. But he called her self-absorbed narcissist. Don't worry, you guys. She got him back with glorified errand boy. Quit. Like, call everybody. A man pisses you off and be like, okay, thank you, glorified errand boy. Like, devastating. What can he say? It's the end. That's about it. Dax and Annie are in a biracial relationship, which is just symbolized by this weirdly partly sunny daytime, partly cloudy nighttime. Nature reflecting in art. Amazing. So, Annie hasn't been introduced to Dax's parents because she's white and he's black, and it is a whole thing, and that sucks that it's a whole thing, but generational trauma, you know? And Shane and Sophia's relationship crumbles, but Dax and Annie's gets pretty stronger. And I kind of relate to Sophia, where it's like I can get mad when people recognize me, when I'm like seen for how I really am, you know, like it can be jarring and scary. But she gives him some fries at the pool to Shane, and they kind of worry that, you know, like the only reason they were together was that like they were apart for so long, but hopefully they'll work it out. I don't know how I feel about them. They're both he's kind of boring, and I love her, but I know she's toxic, you know? So now Sophie wants to rent her own office space. Oh man, part of me, I really want it. I really, really want it. You know, I want that dream of the office space, but then it's so nice to have the irresponsibility of not having office space, you know? But big time means office space. I definitely agree with that. So, she's got like a red wine spill on a dress, which she could have totally picked up, but also devastating. So, the building manager that she meets is a little sexist. She's got like 3 months of cash, rent, and she just explains that, you know, she flips clothes, but she has bad credit because she didn't pay her rent on time. And there was a Victoria's Secret bill she couldn't find, so she needs a co-signer. So her best bet is her dad. So she gets Dax to help her design her business plan to present to her dad. And she's a little nervous, and RuPaul comes in and says, you know, talks about how he had to tell his parents when he was like quitting basketball when he was good at, and just like, you know, pep talks her into that of like, hey, you know, like it might be hard to ask and be worrying to do, but you can do it because this is like how I did it, you know? And so Shane ends up meeting her dad. He acts as a buffer. Her dad wants to put the lease in his name to protect himself, you know, and says like, let's just have a 6 months trial. And she's not really interested in that. She wants all or nothing, you know, Sophia. But she doesn't have a lot of bargaining because she is broke. And she ends up like breaking a door out of anger, which is not great. But she believes that she can do it and that she can work just like twice as hard to prove it. And she's really mad that her dad doesn't believe in her because she wants the name in her own. Like, she wants to do it completely herself. A little wild. Like, I think I would have just taken the lease personally. I guess I don't know what that says about my character, but I was raised to be easygoing. I was raised to have no opinions of myself. always be a people pleaser, but yeah, so she rents out this like decrepit place but at least it's by the water, you know? I don't know if that's great for clothes to be by the water, but it is alright. And so she rents it out from this guy called Bert Kyle because she doesn't want to prove herself, and the setup is unconventional, but she does a spit handshake and she is ready to go. She's gonna do it. She's doing it herself her own way. So there's some declining sales because of Gail at the Remembered store and a lot of other vintage store owners on their own online forum. They don't like that they're losing business at the hands of Sophie, who's really unorthodox, and they really don't like the way that she mishandles and alters the vintage clothing that they want to conserve. Annie joins the forum secretly to like kind of, you know, figure out how to mend things and figure out everything. And I guess she's not coming across as fun online. They Photoshop her head on top of an ostrich, which she takes as a compliment, but it's not great because, you know, negative vibes affect business. And so Annie joins this forum, which is dedicated to investigating the ethics of the Nasty Girl store, and she convinces the other store owners to be open to the idea of Sophia. And Annie is ready to be Nasty Girl's official first employee. She's ready to work for Nasty Girl. She doesn't really want to be a manager and is just ready to work full time. She already does all of the makeup for the photo shoot. She assists with incoming orders and shipments and even like helps feng shui the office, but Sophia says no, she doesn't want to have her there, which is just really messed up. And Pop goes that fantasy bubble where she's the hero and she's getting married on horseback and excelling at urban dancing. And she's really pissed at Sophia, so she also goes online to bash her, which is just like really rough, and it's really bad. And they get on an AIM fight. You remember those? Fun times. And Sophia throws back at her and she's like, listen, I invented Nasty Girl. Everything that you're doing could be done by an intern. And that's really rough because she's not an intern, right? She's her friend, and it's like a deeper relationship than that. And so Annie quits all of this, is just done, and I get it, honestly. That would be harsh. I don't know that I would go to a forum, like, with my friend just because they said no to my job. Like, I would still be hurt, but I don't know that I would take these tactics, honestly. But also, they're 23, so I have almost 4 years of matureness on them at this part, so who knows. But like, yeah, like, people are allowed to change minds. Like, I don't know, I wouldn't have gone to such extremes to hurt her. But you've also got this one guy, Jake, from high school, trying to fuck them and make it all complicated in the meantime as well. But yeah, Annie has a point pointing out that like Sophia's not doing this alone, but Sophia is like stuck on her narcissism visionary pact thing, and it's never good to hear that you're replaceable, especially as a friend. And Annie is like done, she's quitting, and Sophia's like, you know what, you can't go to a job you don't have. But Annie's like, no, I'm just done with this, which honestly, Annie maybe should. But Sophia's just not there yet. She thinks that she was like fine before Annie, she'll be fine after. And she's like left alone in the white room. The direction in this episode was really, really good. And she's not worried because you know what? Just like nobody's ever gonna be her. And Sophia thinks that she is all that she needs. She's got like 67,000 MySpace friends. The thread forums also have like a Bush did 9/11. Like they're weird already, like 4channy. I guess maybe that's just what happens online. Who knows? But anyway, they're all threatening her livelihood and they all believe in like chemtrails anyway. So such as the vintage aesthetic, though, to be honest. I feel like they're a similar person. But anyway, all the people are ready to get revenge. They have eBay review her account, and her account gets suspended, and she's prohibited from opening anything on eBay, and basically her account is, like, locked down. She cannot sell because they say that she violated guidelines, which is just oof. This one reviewer, I'm making sure to like decode some of my notes, is so funny because in that episode she was like, there was no girl boss moments. But I also think believing in yourself to the fact that you would mess up your own friendship is weirdly a girl boss moment, but it is what it is. So Sophia is going back to Texas to buy the jacket back that started it all, and she buys $2,000 now for that jacket, and she's starting to plan her revenge on to Texas. $2,000. Oh my goodness. She tells all the gay men in the Christmas chorus to shut up because she is just mad. She gets offered to eat snake meat, which I don't know if that's a thing. I've lived in Texas for like at least half of my life almost, and I mean, I've never been offered snake meat ever, so I don't understand that. But so she stops at Gail's house in Reno and she threatens her, bops her on the ear, but she's like, snakes don't have ears, which dang, and Gail is over it. She grips Sophia's arm and she tells her that she's a garbage person. This is so vicious. And then, like, it's literally just business. It does not need to get this physical, but because business is in our livelihood in America, this is our result. This is our life, y'all. I hope you love it and enjoy as much as you can. But basically, Gail throws back that Sophia is a garbage person, and that's why her mother left her, and she's like, I would have left you too. Like, dang, how do you come back from that? That is pretty awful. Oof. And yeah, Sophia just, like, hurls that, like, next time you look, you'll be eating out of my ass, which is just, like, oof. Oh, my goodness. That's a lot. Anyway, then she goes to Kansas, and she goes to see this play that her mother is starring in. It's a Christmas murder mystery play, and then we definitely start seeing, like, the similarities between Sophia and her mom. I love this line where she's like, I love a jacket that says, get the fuck out of my way, world. Me too, honestly. So they go to like a post-show drink and everybody thinks that her mom is in her mid-30s. So she can't say that she is a daughter, which is super awkward because moms don't land real roles, which is, I mean, it does suck. There is that sexism in this industry, unfortunately, but also, like, to not introduce your daughter is such, like, a heartbreaking thing and just rough. I think a lot of moms can land roles too. Honestly, you land, like, the mother roles, which are a good degree of woman roles, unfortunately, or fortunately, because there's some really great mom roles, like every single one of the Desperate Housewives characters. But basically, she introduces Sophie as her manicurist, and yeah, it's rough, but a narcissist would, And then Sophia also has to learn that her mom has been sleeping with the director to get parts. So, a lot to realize about your family and realize what is being passed on to you. So her and her mom steal a Christmas tree, and she is like, oh my god, you were so cool and fun. Like, why didn't I see that when you were 12? Which, like, you guys, if that's not relatable to me, sometimes I feel like that was what my mom was for me. It was like, she just didn't see who I was going to become, and maybe in some ways I became so cool so that, like, my mom would say these words to me, even though she hasn't really said those direct words, but it's like the essence, But more vodka comes out, more of the story comes out with the alcohol as it happens, and Sophia's mom admits that, like, her dad crushes dreams, and Sophia and her mom are very much the same. It's, like, wild how genetics will do that. They're both independents, they're both cynics, and they love to hustle. Sophia's mom melts down because she realizes that she fucked the director for nothing and that this other girl got the part, and she just tells out the whole theater and says that they all lack artistic talent. Just gonna burn that bridge. Maybe that's why somebody's afraid of bridges. And Sophia starts to see that, like, oh, her mom acting out is, like, exactly the way that she acts out, and, like, she's gotta grow up because this is lunacy. This is not great. So she gives her mom the jacket, and she's like, next time you want to tell the world to fuck off and go kick someone's ass. And she doesn't go to Hawaii. She goes to Reno again, and she tells her sorry and says thank you for kicking her off eBay because she needs to create her own website, nastygirl.com, and it'll be hers, and she's not going to hold a grudge to her, and she's gonna do things right, and it was good for her to lose it. And weirdly, she doesn't know any of the words to Joy to the World, which is very strange to me. Maybe is garbage. Definitely maybe not a religious person. And so she does Christmas with her dad, and she also has amends to make. This is how it goes in a Christmas episode. You gotta heal everything. It's the only time, winter makes you nostalgic. Winter makes you want to mend things and bring the village together to survive the winter and into the spring. But At first, Annie thinks that she's manipulating with Auld Lang Syne, and they just kind of admit that it was kind of ridiculous, and they wear timeless glasses, the 2008, and she writes sorry across her forehead, and she just is like, had no idea what she was trying to do or why she was so like stubborn about herself, and she didn't want to die and be like haunted forever by doing any wrong. And yeah, it would be hard sometimes to do like all of this stuff with female friends. I don't know, it would take me a while. I don't know how many months really transpired since she like went off on the internet, but it would take me a long time to get over that as a person. But they decide to move past it, and I think they kiss at New Year's, which is like not a big deal. Wish I would do that with more of my friends. Like, I think platonic friend kissing should be more of a thing. Everybody would chill out more if we could just kiss our friends, but we're not there yet, America, and it's fine. We can go to Europe for that. But she hires Annie for Nasty Gal. It's her first employee. Everything is right. She should have just hired Annie from the beginning, because why not? Always work with your friends. It's better. And she is trying to learn how to make a website, building websites for dummies. And Shane is recording with his own band. He's not on tour managing other bands. And as Sophie gets near success, the pressure starts to get to her. She tells off their website designer, Kavi, because she made a better website version, and she just tries to say like, oh, you know, she's a web designer, not a fashion person. Just really mean, essentially. And then she sees a similar product to one of her vintage items being sold, and she just starts to like second guess the entire brand, because she wants something, I guess, really unique. But also, who cares? Like, some clothing, just, it's clothing, you know, there's only a certain amount of ways to do it. It often are sex. So she just wants to quit, you know, thinks that dreams die, and she arranges her site where I think they have like 100 items and have relatively good prices. Her friend Nathan does a poetry night and credits good art to marijuana, which I can agree, and that encourages her that her art will like find an audience. And her web designer Kavi made the website super commercial friendly, and Sophia kind of flips out and her fires her, which is not great. Her site did have porn on it because of Nasty Gal. That's really, really funny and should have seen coming. And Sophia's having a headache about just all of the stress, and Annie just kind of talks her down off the ledge and is like, you know, go have sex. But she freaks out and she like tries to take off this like mannequin blue jumpsuit, because she did all of the work and no one cares, and she should just quit once she's ahead, because she saw like something that was similar, and she doesn't want to get rejected. She wants to like save herself. And Annie is like, listen, like, you can't push your dream back. You're not going to be able to do anything else. Like, this is your dreams, yours. You know, the site is going live. You're a success. You've started a business with nothing. You're doing it. You know, like, go have sex, get your mind fucked straight. This Crashing is like a great song, and it's like by Dave Matthews or whatever. So she's feeling in a good mood. She's gonna do this. She's found more pieces. She's making it bigger. And then she goes to the studio to surprise Shane, and then she finds him getting a blowjob from somebody else, and he is cheating on her, which, now she can't sleep because she is haunted by the image of Shane and that woman. Cheating is so bad. It hurts so many people. Why does it happen so much? I hate it. I hate myself for fucking up sometimes, you know? Anyway, more on that later, again. So she gets advice from the older woman in the first episode, and she just talks about how she just can't sleep, haunted by that image, you know, and Shane cheated on her, and she's sad and angry and embarrassed, and she feels so dumb because he should just be nothing, but he actually was really special to her and was a sweetheart. And the old woman literally slaps some sense into her and is like, you know what, like, either break up or forgive him. And so she crashes his recording session, calls him out in front of the entire band and a record executive. Not so great. And she basically says, you know what, you're a sellout. She wasted 2 years of her life on here, and she like didn't hear his side at all, does not have anything to do with it. He cheated on her with the girls playing guitar, which that's a hard one to refuse. And she's like, if you two have kids, how are you gonna know how it feels having your mom as a slut? Like, just devastates him, especially in front of a record person. Oh no, like, very awkward conversation. And she leaves. And so Nathan also wants to be a part of Nasty Girl they have like a launch party. The entire site sells out before it, which is like awesome. And she opens up that she wouldn't have been able to do it without like Nathan and Annie, and she does the whole thing of like, oh, she wouldn't be out here with like all of the people that were there, like her dad, everybody who influenced her in this journey. You know, there was the 2 set of footprints and now one, and you all carried me, that like Christian parable thing, which is such a funny meme now, and it shouldn't be, but it really is. But it is just like this beautiful moment. It's that success that you always want to, like, that you did it and everybody that you care about is witnessing you doing it and is proud of you, right? Like, that's everything that you want. But she can't get the crashing song out of her head, and she still sees the guitarist sucking her boyfriend's dick, and she's just crying because it's like he shouldn't have that power to ruin her night. And, you know, she's ecstatic. She's had this big career win, but she's also so heartbroken. And Shane comes to her launch and they talk it out, but she's just not really ready to forgive him. And she says, like, you know, I guess I really cared more than you thought I did, and that, you know, you really hurt me so bad. And she wants more, all of the details, and she kisses him, but she is just not ready to get back together. Like, it's over. Like, it's just not gonna work because she has to focus in all on a Nasty Girl, which is more clothes, more parties, more monies, no losers holding her back. And she cleans out there. She's like walking through like the aftermath of the party from the night before, and she sees all of these like hundreds of comments of people singing praises of their new favorite store. And she did it. She built an empire, and that was really cool. Yeah, I like this as like a limited series. Is it like the best thing ever? Nah, but it's fun, and it is like building a business in your 20s. Like, I don't know if I saw this when I've built my own business, right? And we need more shows of powerful women doing powerful things, because unfortunately there are not a lot of representations of women in business, and that is sad. And Devil Wears Prada shouldn't be like the only next one of them, you know? So that was Girlboss. What did you guys think? I thought the lead actress was honestly really incredible. It's a hard part to play, but I think she played it beautifully. And yeah, it was a really fun thing. Definitely an unlikable character, but I think there's something to it. There's a reason it's called Nasty Gal, not Good Gal everybody likes. I think too, to be an artist and to do something new, sometimes you have to like go against the edge, and you're not going to be everybody's favorite. And that is something I am learning and embracing in my own shadow work. But I hope you guys enjoyed this review. It's always so nice to give them to you. Sorry my voice was a little bit weird. I'm just getting over COVID. Whole thing about that. I'll probably talk about that in another review. But I hope you liked it. Let me know what you also thought of Girlboss. I do kind of wish this was a multi-series show, but I get why they stopped. But it was like a good character. Like, I was interested and intrigued on like the fashion world, and you know, somebody being their business and the other hurdles of business. Like, it would have been cool to see, but we didn't get to see it, and it is what it is. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked the review. I do more reviews on this channel if you feel so inclined. It would be amazing if you donated, or at the very least followed me on social media. Thank you so much for listening. I care so much if you made it to the end. You are amazing, and I hope you have a great one. Bye.